everyone. My name is Alexander Lucard, and I am an HMS administrator from Montgomery County. In today's training, we're going to give you a little bit of basics on Reportwriter. And Reportwriter is a program that allows you to use the various tables and fields and filters that make up the back end of our HMIS system to design your own reports. It's under the canned reports section, so anyone can use it. The problem is it's not very user-friendly, and it's also very overwhelming the first time you look at it. So I want to go through and we're going to work together and create a sample report, one that any of you can do that's really basic, and then that way you can save it yourself and have a copy of it for your own system. So we're going to go down to reports. We're going to scroll all the way down to Reportwriter. Again, I'm a system administrator, so I have a lot more buttons than you guys do on your version of the report screen. Again, we click reports, we get to the report dashboard, we scroll all the way down, and we choose Reportwriter. We wait for Reportwriter to load, and we can see that currently in HMIS, we have 143 different reports. Some are made by various users, some are made by us here at Montgomery County. It's all good. Generally, you'll know which reports are yours. I keep track of the ones that I make. And I also keep track of their names. It's very important. In this case, we're going to teach you how to do a release of information report. And what this report is going to do is it's going to export the data in a spreadsheet format so you can see when all your current clients' release of information expire. Again, remember, every client should have a current release of information. They should have one every year. So if their date is January 1st, 2019, it should end on January 1st, 2020, and the new one should start on January 1st, 2020 to 2021, so on and so forth. You just want to make sure that there is a yearly addition to the release of information. And what we're going to do in this training is help create a report so that you can monitor it instead of manually checking. So we're going to go down here all the way to the bottom, and we're going to click New for Report. And this brings up a ton of fields. Do you see this? We've got tables, we've got assessments, we've got sub-assessments, we've got worksheet data categories. And then we've got all these things at the top: tables, fields, filters, counting, preview, and up. Tables are what we're going to pick our information from. And again, this can be really hard because look, you have hundreds of options here. And you might not know the difference between, say, MC, HUD, COC, and ESG update 2016 and say 2017 or the 2021. So it's little things like that. And you might really want to do a piece of information, but you have no idea which assessment or table it's under. Unfortunately, a lot of this using Reportwriter is going to be guess and check. As you get to know the system, you'll know which fields are under which tables. And sometimes the fields are under multiple tables because they pre-populate, they cross over. Things like client ID, for example, is going to be in a lot of these tables. But that doesn't mean that it's stored in different ways. It just means that that piece of information, once it is entered in the system, crosses across multiple tables on the back end. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a really simple table to help you with that release of information. And we're just going to take pieces from the tables field. We aren't going to worry about assessments or sub-assessments because we don't need them for this various report. Now, if you guys want further trainings or in-person trainings, we can go a little bit deeper into each of these fields and what's the difference between a table, assessment, and sub-assessments. For the purposes of this training, which is to help you make a release of information report, we're going to take entry exits because that's important. We always want our entries. And we're going to take release of information. This is going to be a simple two-table crossover, okay? We can see entry exits, we can see release of information. And those are the ones we're going to take. Now, after we've chosen our tables, we're going to choose fields. And sometimes you're going to go and you're going to look at the fields and you're going to say, oh, this isn't the right table, the information I want in it. So you'll go back to tables. You can click on any of these in any order you want. I like to start with tables. There is no set. It's nothing like, oh, once you go forward, you can't go back. That's not true. You can do them in any order you want. You can go tables to options to fields to whatever you want. So we click on fields, and I'm going to take a few pieces of information. I'm going to take client ID. I'm going to take entry date. I'm going to take exit date. Now, why am I taking this? Client ID, so we have the right client. Entry date, so we have the date that they came into the program. Exit date, so we have the date that they left the program. Now, even though we're looking for active clients, we're going to want exit date, and I'm going to show you why. And then from the release of information tab, all we're going to take is the start date and the end date. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. Right? These are the 5 fields that are going to end up in our spreadsheet. Now you notice like we have active and client ID and active and client ID. We don't need to take client ID twice. We only take it once per any of these tables because again, the client ID is the same no matter what table it's in. So we're just taking the client ID once. Otherwise, it's going to look really wonky. So we have our 5 fields and we could go to filters, but first I'm going to show you preview just so you can see how it's starting to look. Wait for this to load. And you can see right now we have 621,213 clients that are showing up. That's a lot, but that's where the filters come in. We have all the fields that we want, but now what we're going to do is we're going to put in filters to make it contracted and to specifically gain only the information you want for this report. So the filters start off with entry exits equal yes and release of information active equals yes. This means that they have an active one of these in the system. If you set it to no, entry exit active equal no, it will also take deleted entry exits, like ones that you made a mistake on deleted or release of information that you made a mistake on deleted. So you always want these to be yes, unless you are trying to find deleted information. And now we're going to add a couple more filters. And again, these filters are to help you sift things down to just the clients and information you want. So we're going to add a filter. And the first filter I'm going to add is going to be for exit date. And I'm going to choose null. So why am I choosing entry date, exit date is null. And the reason I'm choosing that is because this will make sure we pull clients that do not have an exit date. It will only pull clients that have an entry date without an exit date. That means it will pull clients that are currently in the system in the program you wish to view. If we leave this open, it's going to pull all active clients, or any client that has ever been in your program, whether or not they've exited or not. So it would grab someone who left your program in 2012. So right now we're purposely choosing exit date as null because we only want to pull active clients within your program. Now, if we go back, that 612,000 has dropped to 27,841. Again, you wouldn't go in this order. I'm doing it for the purpose of training, just to show you how much that one filter changed things for us. And then the next and last filter we're going to add is going to be, again, entry exits. And we're going to choose our provider. Now, please choose a provider. And in this case, I'm just going to grab a random one. Let's grab Bethesda Care. No. Let's grab Becky's house. That's when we looked at it before we did this training. So what this will do is it's only going to have clients that have come from Becky's house. All right, so we hit save. And you can do this for whatever program you want. So now we have entry exit equal yes, yes, null, and Becky's house. And what we should see is that this is not going to pull any client with an exit date and only clients that are at Becky's house. And this is only going to pull active clients at Becky's house. So now let's take a look at the preview. We take a look at the preview and now we have 60 lines of spreadsheet. Some of these, as you can see, are the same clients, so 24937. Now, why is it pulling so many? Why are there so many duplicates? All the entry dates are the same, right? All the end dates are the same. The end dates are the end of their release of information. The start date is their start date. So why is it pulling so many? And that's because, as you can see, we have multiple start dates and end dates within the system. And that's because, again, remember, start date is your release of information start date, and end date is your release of information. So before we go any farther, let's correct this a little bit to make your lives easier. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to choose options. Under options, I'm going to change the name of these two and I can move them around. Here's our column order type. So I'm going to put end date after start date, which makes a lot of sense, right? And I'm going to change it to ROI end date. So it makes it easier for you to understand. And ROI start date, right? And now I'm going to add, go back. We're going to add one more field just to make your lives easier. We're going to add the provider. I'm going to put the provider. So you can see I've moved things around. And now if we go look at the preview, we can see definitely everyone is at Becky's house. No one has an exit date, which means that they are a current client. And we can see all the different release of information that the client has had. And this says to me a couple different things. Each one of these is a different one. So as you can see, for some reason, they did 4 different release of informations back in 2013. All of them are getting the dates right, but why they did 4 of them for the same client in 2014, I don't know. That's overkill. Remember, you only need to have 1 per year. However, due to the basis of this report, it's going to pull every single release of information the client's ever had. Now, why don't we filter this out to get a specific date? Because some clients might not have a recent one, and this is going to help us go, oh my God, the client hasn't had one since 2018. Let's get this in. And in order for us to do that, we have to pull all the release of information. So now this report's pretty good. We've got our location. We know that there are no end dates. These are all our active clients. We just have to get rid of the duplicates, right? So we're going to click download full report. And this is going to turn it into an Excel file. Technically a CSV file, which is Excel compatible. But for all intents and purposes, this is an Excel file. We hit download. And we can open our report that we just made. And here it is in handy dandy Excel compatible. Right. So now how do we look at this report? Because we're like, oh my God, we've got all these different things and none of them are in the right order. So let's use our Excel to clean this up a bit. I also like to bold the header. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some sorting on. We're going to sort. And the first thing we're going to sort by is client ID, smallest to largest. And the second thing is release of information start date, newest to oldest. You could do end date as well. Either way, we're just going to do start. And now what this does is it puts the most recent release of information on the top of each client's account. So we can see here for Becky, for client 4096 at Becky, their most recent one is 1/12/21 to 1/12/2022. So on and so forth. We can see a lot of these with our clients. And as we go through, for example, this one started on 10/15/2020, but they're all in order with the most recent one on top. So now let's do a little remove duplication. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove all the duplicates except for the most recent release of information. Right? That didn't actually do it. So let's do that again. I forgot to click, and that's my fault. Right? And there we go. We've deleted it, and we're down to the 8 clients. And this shows us our release of information for each possible client. And we can see all of the 8 people that are at Becky's house, and that's how many there are. All the release of informations have been done this year. Fantastic. Now, if we want to go back and look at a different program, all we have to do is go to the filters, and we can change Becky's house to say, let's grab a low barrier shelter just to show you it works for them as well. So let's grab ends over. This is going to be a lot bigger. As we can see, we just changed the filter to a different provider. We preview, and again, look, We've got our list. We download it. And these are all the current clients at this low barrier shelter. We're going to data. We're going to sort by client ID, smallest to largest, start by start date, newest to oldest, the most recent one's on top. And we're going to remove all but the most recent one by going remove duplicates, and everything's checked except the ROI start and end date. And that's going to delete everything but the most recent one. There we go. And you can just use this list. For example, client 28592, their release of information expired on 12/22/2020, so we probably want to get that in. Same with client 23549, his expired March 1st, 2018. We really need to get a new one in for him. And that's just how we can make this report writer work. And we can have as many programs as you want in here. So now, I like to do only one at a time. I know that sucks because you might want to look at a bunch of programs at once, but let's go back, for example, to Becky's house is why. Now, let's say we wanted to look at Becky's house and also interface works houses. If we add another filter, right, provider, here's the problem. You have to remember the ands or ors, and this can be really difficult. So if we do this, they have to be a current resident at Becky's house and interfaith home. See that and there? And we do a preview. There are no matches because there are no current clients that are in both programs at once. If we change it to or, and I really don't like doing the or because the or takes a lot of concentration to make sure you get it right. Because if you look at this, you're going to think, oh, this is good for Becky's house or interfaith homes, right? It's going to do both of them. Well, as you can see, there's Becky's house. There's interfaith. But look, there's a bunch of people with interfaith works coming up with exit dates. And why is that? And the reason is you have to think like a computer. We are saying that the entry must be current, the release of information must be current, there must be no exit date, and they must be at Becky's house, or they just need to be at interfaith homes. As soon as you do or, it ignores everything above the or. So we're saying all this must be true, or they just have to be at interfaith homes. So to do this correctly with an or, we're going to have to do entry exit equals yes. Release of information active equals yes. Exit date is null. And provider equals so for each one you want, each provider you want to look at, you have to re-enter all the filters. Do you see this? You have to basically duplicate all the filters if you want to look at more than one program. So if you want to look at 4 programs, you're going to have to do the filters 4 times. But we can see here, now it's working. So this is why I like to say just do one program at a time. If you want to put the energy into doing the filters, you can. Otherwise, it's easier just to come back and edit this filter and change it to whatever provider you want. Now, once you're sure the report is working, you've got your filters correct, everything looks good, we can save the current report. And what I will save this is 10/11/2021 test ROI report. I'm going to leave this in the system for those of you who want to make a report for your own programs, for you to copy it. You can see the filters and everything here. You'll just change the provider and you'll save it as your own. So if I was, say, MCCH, I would save it as MCCH ROI report. If I was Bethesda Cares, I'd save it as Bethesda Cares ROI report. If I was Stepping Stones, I'd save it as Stepping Stones ROI report. What I want you to do after watching this video is try to make it. And this report will be in here to let you see if you're doing it right. It's a really, really easy report. This is one of the easier ones that you can make in Reportwriter. And I want you guys to feel comfortable. And I always like to put a description in here. Here's my instructions. I'm going to hit Save Report. And if we take a look, there's the report that we made along with the big instructions. So now, if you follow this video, you'll be able to make a ROI report for your programs as well and get that cleaned up lickety-split. That's all I've got for you today. If you're interested in more Reportwriter videos, let me know. We can make some more reports together, either in person or here on our video channel. And like I said, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me in this training, and I look forward to working with you again. Have a great day.